Welcome, people of the World Wide Web. It's Cypher Sigma here. It is the weekend, and it is the first of two reviews for this week. So first up, we have Lilo and Stitch. Yes, this is the 2025 remake, reboot version, however you'd want to kind of categorize it. It is 1 hour and 48 minutes. There is a little kind of scene at the beginning of the credits, so you don't have to wait until the end. And yeah, I did really enjoy this movie. So for anybody who doesn't know, as I say, this is the remake of Lilo and Stitch, the animated movie. There are a few characters and features and stuff changed, but essentially this is about you have an interstellar alien council, so to speak, and it's Cancer Woman, and basically there is this scientist. He's created this experiment called 626. And because basically he designs it for destruction, he's been caught, and basically the creature is sent to be destroyed, or basically, or not essentially, but be like marooned or put somewhere basically away from the world because it seems to be too dangerous. Stitch, as it's not known yet, 626 escapes, manages to flee in the ship, and is heading towards Earth. The councilwoman then essentially needs to get the creature back, so she sends Agent Peaksley along with Jumbo, who is the scientist who created him, to basically bring the creature back, and obviously they redeem themselves, or Jumbo would redeem himself, and Peaksley is a scientist, alien scientist who loves Earth, so he gets to go explore that side of things. Obviously, when they go, this is where you have the young girl. Lilo, she lives with her sister Nanny. Unfortunately, her parents have passed away, and her older sister is struggling to keep things down and keep the two of them together. And obviously, they've gone through this quite traumatic experience of losing their family. They're trying to do the best they can. It doesn't always work out. They have a little bit of bad luck, or stuff always seems to go wrong. And essentially, Stitch comes into their life, and how it kind of changed the whole dynamic with this family. That's essentially the story, if you don't know it. So I'll put the spoiler warning up, and we shall get into the film. So first off, we shall go for the cast. So I think my mic died half between that. So we shall go back through. So as I said, the cast, obviously you have Mia Keone. She's Lilo, perfect casting. Don't think you could have done any better than him. And then you have Sydney Agunda as Nanny. Again, great casting. These two front and centre work really, really well. We have Chris Sanders returning from the original movie. He did play the voice of Stitch. He is also kind of the creator of Stitch and the director of the original movie. He was busy doing The Wild Robot, so he recorded his voice talents in a studio and basically passed them over. First time them doing this. Then we have Billy Magnussen as Pleagley. He's the two aliens that, so Pleagley and Jumbo, that go after him. They have human disguises, and obviously they're played by human actors just to make it a little bit better. So we have Billy Magnussen as Pleagley, and obviously Zach Galifianakis, if I pronounce that right, as Jumbo. Then we have Courtney B. Vance as Cobra Bubbles. So the original voice was Vince Rames, but obviously he was recording the Final Reckoning, so that's why he wasn't able to take his. I think he actually would have been a really good actor. That would have, his drawn character, Cobra Bubbles, would have been perfect. But the guy Courtney did quite well. And then you have the two of the minor actors playing Tutu and David, who live next door. David, who they live next door to them. And then we have, in kind of a nice surprise and rise, we have Tia Carrera as Miss Kiowa. She was originally the original voice of Nanny from 2020, and she is now a social worker. And then Jason Scott Lee, who was the voice of David from the 2002 animated movie. He is now the luau manager. Doesn't get a speaking part, but you get to see him. And then Hannah Waddingham. She plays Grand's councilwoman, because the councilwoman and Jumbo, the original voice actors, unfortunately have passed, and the movie is dedicated to these two. So that's the cast in a nutshell. We shall get it. As I say, we start off with the councilwoman. She's standing over Jumbo and creature or experiment 626. She gives him a chance to basically testify. He basically revolts like a little kid, like how he is. She determines to be isolated from the world. He escapes because he learns how to kind of fool their systems, escapes in a ship and flies off to Earth. The cancer woman needs to correct this, so she sends her agent Pleagley, who is like the Earth. He researched Earth, so he's sent to Earth, and he sent Jumbo with him to get his experiment back to kind of redeem himself because he was going to be convicted as well. So that's where you go off. You then have Stitch flying off, and then this is where we learn the story of Nanny and Lilo. You find out that their parents have passed, unfortunately. I think it was some sort of accident. They live in a house together, and the social workers turn up, but basically they are running out of time. There is a weirdly dynamic there. Lilo isn't kind of a usual girl. A lot of people look on her bad, and she reacts, by pushing a girl within a little one, and her sister doesn't turn up because stuff is broken because they just don't have the money, and obviously it's her older sister who's trying to do a job and do a lot of other things, and that. This then creates a dynamic that when the social worker turns up, obviously she says that there are issues. She says, she's going to take it to the board, but basically they've got a week, and if they can't improve, like clean the house, put food in the fridge, and basically everyone behave themselves. If that doesn't happen within a week, unfortunately, they're going to have to separate Lilo and Nanny, which is not great. You can see they're at kind of a little at odds with each other, and then Lilo sees a shooting star, which is actually Stitch experiment, and then she wishes for a friend. Ship crashes, Stitch goes crazy within a wedding party, is captured, and then he kind of turns himself into a dog to blend in with the environment. In between this is where Lilo goes and visits the dog and basically claims him as her own because the neighbour that is looking after her tutu, she says she can have a dog. Nanny's like, what are you doing? Obviously, and this then leads to Pleagley and Jumbo. They came to Earth, they are hunting him. And this is kind of where the story goes. Unfortunately, Stitch being in the make, stuff goes wrong as Lilo teaches Stitch to be more human, obviously giving him his name, Stitch, and stuff. And this is kind of, as the story develops, this is what happens. Obviously, chaos ensues of the aliens trying to get there. Obviously, Cobra Bubbles, he is a US agent. He is obviously tracking the ship when it goes down. He goes undercover as the head of the social worker and kind of injects himself within his life. This all then leads to a massive confrontation and Stitch potentially to be taken by Jumbo. I say I don't want to go into too much because it's quite nice to see the story as it develops, but and then essentially as Stitch is going to be taken away, the cancer woman turns up with loads of guards to take him away after the final kind of battle, because when Jumbo's got Stitch in the ship, he kind of wreaks havoc with Lilo because Lilo's helped him out. And then this is where they kind of come to agreement that Stitch does have a human side and that he'll basically be isolated to Earth, and that's where he lives. Jumbo's taken away. Pleagley stays on Earth kind of undercover with Bubbles. And then basically Tutu and David, who are also been involved in this story, they essentially say that they will look after Lilo when Nanny goes off to be like a marine biologist. And that's essentially the story. So all a happy ending, more or less. A little bit different to the original movie. And then the extra scene is Nanny basically using a warp gun that they find to come back and see Lilo at the very end, which is quite a cute, endearing, and Stitch has the whole family once. So what did I think of this movie? I actually really adored this movie. Big fan of the original one. The original one does focus a lot on Elvis music, and it took me a little while to warm to that. It has Elvis music in it, but most of the music is covers, except for when Stitch is kind of being a record player and puts his thumb on it, and Lilo lifts his mouth open and he plays it. Obviously, Captain Gantu is removed from this film from the original, and that's the only major difference you notice. He's a massive alien, looks kind of like a whale, and he's the one that hunts him. And then they kind of move Jumbo's character a little bit, because Jumbo kind of warms to him, and he stays on Earth in the series, and this he doesn't, he's taken away, which I get that. Zach Galifianakis did really well. Pleagley, I think, did really, as I say, casting across the board, I think they did really well. Having the next door neighbour that is then related to David and having stuff like that, I think it worked better. It was just an all-round solid movie. Chris Sanders is great as Stitch, and they have some Some stuff they replicate from the original movie, some stuff they throw in. As I say, with a teleporting gun. It was quite funny when Jumbo's done kind of, if you've ever seen Portal, the game, you'll get there's a few running jokes that they kind of do from that, and obviously having the throwback to the original cast, some of them in there. But it's really, really great. I rate this movie 7 out of 10. Definitely be picking it up and adding it to my collection. Disney. I know it took 100 million to make it. From last I saw, it was 770 million, so it's already made almost 7 times its budget. Obviously, if you take into advertisement stuff like that, it's probably 4 or 5 times. Still really, really great, solid family movie, a great idea and a great remake, reboot that they changed just enough for it to be its own entity, but still to keep a lot of the core values of what Stitch was. You know, it brought in a lot of the Hawaiian kind of atmosphere still, and some of the music and the dancing I think really worked well. Even to say changing up the songs from Elvis to be covers even worked, you know, and I think this is, you know, spot on. Disney have done really well on this. So yeah, I really loved it and hope you've seen it. Very, very interesting note at the end of this. There has been rumours this week within the papers that Disney are going to go back to 2D animation because there's so many people doing CG and stuff like that. I really look forward to that. I'm a massive, massive fan and backer of 2D animation. I think having a skill set for people to draw, hand draw stuff over using a computer basically is very much, takes a lot of the skill away from it in certain aspects. Just my opinion. But anyway, have you seen the new film, the latest Lilo and Stitch movie? What are your thoughts and feelings? Let me know in the comments down below. I've been Simon Screen Time, and I shall see you in the next one.